So one of the things I mentioned in my last No Money Spent video is how I want to make a video series updating you guys for the best budget beasts, best players who are under a certain price point on the market for you guys to quickly buy and throw on your team so you can hop into ranked season and things right away. Today, I'm going to list 3 players at each position that you guys can all buy straight off the market for less than 30k subs. I think 30k is a fair point if you're looking to add a couple players. A lot of these guys are way below that threshold, but I'm just going to suggest to you guys 3 players at each position who are maybe low diamonds, buyable on the market, or even gold players that will play very well at this point in the year for less than 30k subs. Let's get into it. YouTube, what is going on? We are back with another No Money Spent video. Obviously, we are doing MLB The Show gameplay tips, hitting tips, pitching tips, and no money spent tips. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button to keep up with the rest of the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are uploading daily here with tips for you to help you out each day. So make sure you peruse the channel, see if there's anything that you find helpful. Also, in case you guys do not know, I do stream on Twitch. Make sure you come hang out, watch us play the game on Twitch. We went 12-0 in BR yesterday, which is super fun. The streams are always super fun and the best place to ask me any questions and things like that. Without any further ado, let's get right into the budget beasts. Alright, so like I said before, 3 players that are less than 30,000 subs at each position you could just buy straight off the market. I want to note, there's a fair amount of these players are going to be earnable through the Tops Now and through the BR program. You don't have to buy all of these guys, but there are players that you can also earn through the game by playing it itself. I'll make sure to explain how you can get these cards, just in case you don't want to buy them on the market. So I'm going to go position my position. Let's start with our catchers here. Yermin Mercedes. There aren't that many catchers in the game right now, but Yermin has a really good bat, probably the best bat out of any gold catcher. 81-86 contact, 82-81 power. Obviously a liability at defense, but at this point in the year, you want to try to get as many big bats in there as possible, and Yermin is the biggest cheap catcher bat you have. Next, we have Tyler Stevenson. This card you get in the Tops Now, just like Yermin Mercedes. Yermin Mercedes was the first set of Tops Now moments. Tyler Stevenson was last week Tops Now moments. And you get this card through doing that. Again, not a great fielder, but this card actually has very good splits versus lefties, crushes lefties, and Tyler Stevenson usually has a good swing. His cards last year were very favorited by a lot of people, including his Tops Now card from last year. Finally, we have Yasmani Grandal. He is only a live series player, and he's a switch hitter. But the thing that Yasmani has is good defense, and ignore the attributes hitting-wise, he is a fat bat. I have used him at the start of ranked season in BR, hitting 533 with him with a 2000 OPS. His swing plays very well, he's got enough power, and he's actually a viable defender out there, so if you want to throw him on the bench behind Mercedes, it's probably a good idea. Now let's go into the first baseman now. The first one I'm going to suggest is Tino Martinez. This card I think is available in the Space 1 pack. If I recall, I'm trying to remember where this card is available, but he is actually a very solid card for 15k. Does very well versus righties, solid enough versus lefties, and you know, 70 fielding is more than fine at first base. 15k Stubs. That's a very affordable card for someone that you can play at first. Next, we have a gold Pete Alonso. He's going for like 2.5k or so. The value of this card is the power, 99 and 101 power. If you are just starting ranked season, you're playing on veteran or all-star difficulty, this card is more than usable at that level of the game. 99 and 101 power is really, really good at the early point in the year. Yes, the contact is a little low. Yes, the fielding is low. The speed is low, but the power, that's what you need at first base, is a big bat, and this is a perfect bat for you. Finally, we have Max Muncy, and the reason I like Max Muncy is, first of all, he does have power like Pete Alonso, a little lower down, but he does still have good enough power. Low contact, almost like Alonso, but he does have secondary positions at second and third. If you're looking for a second baseman or a third baseman who can also play first, Pete Alonso, Max Muncy fits this mold perfectly. Also, you get the Team Affinity Max Muncy as an option if you complete those. But Muncy here is great for his secondary positions and a little better fielding than Pete Alonso. Now let's talk about our second baseman. There aren't many second basemen in the game, but the first one I suggest is Ty France. I haven't used him the most, but I have heard this guy swings for a little bit of pop. 94 contact versus righties is very solid. 76-75 power for second base. not too bad at this point in the year, and 70 fielding is definitely passable. Obviously, you get this card through the top sound moments again, like some of the other guys who are catchers. This card is actually a solid bat from what I'm hearing. I would definitely try him looking at second base because that is definitely a weaker position. There aren't that many great diamond second baseman right now. Then, speaking of gold players, we have Brandon Lau. So just like our first baseman, we want to try to prioritize power. Mr. Lau here has that power. He has 94 power versus lefties. He has reverse splits with the power. He gets a little better contact versus righties, but a little lower power. But 76 is more than enough. Lau is a really good swing. And again, 75 fielding is fine enough at second base. Finally, the last one I'm going to suggest is Ozzie Albies, and I would have suggested him earlier, but he did kind of get hit in this most recent roster update. He's getting very nice inside edge splits, so he does look like a very good card. Ozzie does a great job of crushing lefties, and even though he is kind of weak versus righties, he is a switch hitter, so if you are hitting versus righties, he at least is still got that matchup advantage, and again, passable defense at second with 78. We even play him at shortstop if need be. So our first third baseman I'm going to suggest to you guys is Josh Donaldson. He is the first headliner card we had this year. He's right at that 30K threshold, and I've heard nothing but good things about this card. Gold fielding, 88 power versus righties, 76 power versus lefties, which, you know, isn't the best. Obviously, third base is the spot you want power, but I hear this card does still hit well. If you are in that Hall of Fame region of ranked, that 87 and 84 contact will help you a bit. And he also does have that solid defense. And I know Donaldson has a great swing, so you know, even though he isn't living up to the attributes, he should be a big bat and should hit for some good power despite the low power numbers. Now, this is one that is probably very obvious, but Ryan McMahon, you get from the second week of top sound moments. This card, I think, is a must-have if you are no money spent building up the squad and you are weak on positions. First of all, McMahon has 3 positions: third base, second base, and first base. So if you need any of those positions, especially second base, which is very weak at this point in the year, absolutely scoop up Ryan McMahon. 96 and 93 power is more than legit. His swing is very good. I used this card a bit at the start of the year before I sold him, so I could work on collections, and he is really good. I can vouch that his swing is very good, especially from using his bronze in BR. This is a must-have card right here. And finally is a new addition to the game, the gold second half hero, Miguel Sano. This card was added in the Battle Royale program the other day, and this card is an absolute stud. 110 and 122 power is insane. Like, that's really good power. Yes, a little low on the contact versus righties. 85 contact versus lefties is solid. And he also does have that first base secondary in case you want to play him there. Thing is with Sano, the always common downside with him is the 49 fielding. The defense is gonna suck. On to shortstops now. The first one I'm gonna suggest is Marco Luciano. I have not used this card yet. I've heard people talking about him, and giving a look at his attributes here, he actually seems like a nice little card. The hitting attributes a little underrated. 84 and 80 contact is solid. 90 and 82 power. That's pretty impressive at shortstop. And, you know, 75 fielding. That is a little frisky at shortstop. You know, silver fielding is not the most comfortable. But obviously, Luciano seems like a big bat. You're getting him for the bat, and at 75 fielding is going to be a little bit of a cost. But again, should be passable at shortstop. Next, we have Trey Turner. Trey Turner usually is glitchy in every single MLB The Show game. Obviously, he has unmatched speed with 99 speed, 99 base running aggression, and 92 steal. So if you are one of those base running people, this card is a must-have at shortstop. The attributes at the plate I wouldn't 100% focus on because he usually plays above them. He's got a very nice swing. He does have great contact versus lefties. The final one is Corey Seager. Corey Seager actually has more impressive hitting attributes than Trey Turner. He actually got a little bit of a downgrade in this roster update too, I think. So on paper, he should hit a little better. He does also have 69 fielding, almost like Trey Turner. He's going to have bad fielding. Like I said before, you can kind of get away with the meh fielding at shortstop at this point in the year. If you're looking for a good bat, I probably would go for Mr. Corey Seager. To the outfield, start off in left field. First, we have Adam Duvall. Again, you get this card through the top sound moments, so you could earn him for free. This card is super valuable because the power, 86 and 118 power, but he could play basically anywhere, all over the outfield in first and third. Almost like Ryan McMahon, you know, this card is valuable because he can play nearly anywhere. And, you know, the power is great, and he especially crushes lefties with the 92 contact. And Duvall, from what I have used, has had a solid swing. I'm a big fan of his cards usually. Now we're going to look at another bad defender, JD Martinez. He is the definition of a bad defender with 45 fielding. But if you look at the hitting attributes, you realize the value of this card is that bad. Crush lefties and even really kill righties too. For a gold card that is like less than like 3K subs, definitely pick up this card if you're looking for a bat, either to start or on the bench. Again, the defense is kind of bad. Also, keep in mind this is live series JD Martinez. We'll talk about the other JD Martinez in a bit here. And finally, we're going to suggest another card they added in the BR program the other day, Jock Peterson. You look at the hitting attributes and you're probably wondering, why would you suggest this card? He's like no contact and no power. But Jock Peterson's swing is one of the best in the game. If you guys play Battle Royale, you know Jock Peterson actually has a nice swing. He obviously has 111 power versus righties. The 45 versus left could be an issue. I'm not gonna lie to you. But his swing should play a little above that power. If you get the right angle and timing on the ball, you probably will still hit it out even versus lefties. And the thing that this Peterson card has is 85 fielding. So he has gold fielding. Both the other options I mentioned have like really bad fielding. So if you want that good fielder option, maybe for the bench, definitely Jock Peterson is that option. Now in center field, to start off center field, we'll start off with the most recent diamond upgrade, Byron Buxton. First of all, this card is a solid little investment. Buxton's been killing this year, and he could keep on bumping up that contact and power since he's showing the bat. But the thing that Buxton has is 99 fielding, 99 reaction, and an 86 arm, which is very good. He also has a good swing, so he will play above those hitting attributes. You know how much this card costs? 20K right now. Absolute stud of an affordable diamond center fielder, because you want good defense in center field, that is for sure. Next, we're going to have Jason Dominguez. My Yankee bias aside, this card is actually pretty solid. I've used him for a fair bit. He's nice. First of all, he has 95 speed, so even though he only does have 79 fielding, he will catch up to a lot of balls in center field with that 95 speed, and his reaction is definitely good enough. If you work on his parallels too, he gets up to gold fielding, so that definitely will help him a bit. Also, switch hitting bat, definitely passable hitting attributes, 76, 72, 77, 71. So this card is actually a nice bat as well. I've heard good things about his swing. I kind of struggled with it, but I think for 15K, this card is definitely a try at center field. Finally, we're going to suggest Mark Cannon. You could earn this card in the Classics pack you get partially through the first inning program. There's him, Nate Eovaldi, and Nomar Mazara. And obviously Mark Cannon has a primary at center field, so you could play his card at center. If you look at the attributes, he crushes righties. 110, 94. Contact and power versus lefties not as great, but at least he does have 82 power. And you know, if you play him in center, he does have 70 fielding. This card is definitely the worst defending option. I probably wouldn't recommend starting him in center, but playing him as secondaries in the corner infield or the corner outfield. Now let's talk about right field, our last offensive position. I'm going to start this off with the second headliner we had, 91 Rookie of the Year, Tim Salmon. Almost like a lot of the cards we suggested, Tim Salmon has a fat bat. 99 and 95 power is really good. And 99 power versus righties, so he has the reverse splits. So even if he does have that down matchup versus righties, he is going to actually have a nice size PCI with that 99 contact. Again, just like half the players we mentioned, 64 fielding is not going to be too great, but you are throwing him in right field. You can kind of get away with him out there, but he is going to somewhat be a liability defensively. But for a budget card, this card is a fat bat, one of the best options we talked about in this video. Speaking of JD Martinez before, another right field option is the second half hero, JD Martinez, which is in the Space 2 pack, I believe. He's like a 20K subs, 117 and 120 power. Again, really good. This card is that first JD Martinez card, but on steroids. More power, a little less contact, I think, than his live series card, but you want the power for sure. 47 fielding isn't great either, just like Tim Salmon, but again, you kind of want to get the good bat out there whenever possible. The final one I am going to mention, I'm surprised this card is below 30K, is 88-42 series Hank Aaron. This card honestly is shocking me to be below that 30K threshold. He's right at about 30. First of all, you can play him all around the outfield. He has 80 fielding. So, he does get gold fielding a little bit better than those other two cards we mentioned in right. Good all-around card. Nothing is really weak on this card, but also nothing is overly impressive. From what I have used of Hank Aaron's swing, I really like his swing. I haven't used this card much, but I have heard great things about his swing and his cards. I would definitely suggest him if you're looking for about a 30K sub card that actually can defend in right field. All right, so those are the hitters. Obviously, a lot of the hitters we chose are big on power. Don't be afraid to shuffle their positions. Obviously, I recommended them by position, but I recommend playing guys in their secondaries, doing whatever it takes to make a squad work. These are just all players just sorted by their position that I would recommend you guys use. Let's talk about our starting pitchers now. So obviously, I don't want to do only 3 starting pitchers. I want to give you guys 6 options. First, we got live series Trevor Bauer. He's just below 30K. If you guys remember playing MLB 20 last year, Trevor Bauer's card at the end of the year is actually pretty solid. He had a solid fastball, like mid-90s, and then a slow cutter. This is where this card excels. 93 mile per hour four seam, 85 mile per hour cutter. That difference in speed is a really valuable thing to have, so the cutter just looks exactly like a fastball. It has a little bit of movement, especially since it is so slow. Definitely nice. I haven't used Bauer yet, but I would suggest this just based off of his pitch mix. Then we have Justin Verlander, who absolutely shoved against me one game. First of all, he does have 99 break, which is very impressive. He has a nasty four-seam fastball, definitely more impressive than I first thought. His release point is a little different than in years past, so this card is a little bit more passable. Obviously, he doesn't have a sinker or a cutter, which are popular pitches, but he does have a solid four-seam, good slider, a slower curveball. He has good pitch mix speed. He gets the high 80s, the mid 80s, 80 miles per hour, and mid to high 90s. Next, we have Chris Sale, and the reason Chris Sale is so good is because he has solid velocity, but he also has a deceptive release. For me, it takes me a bit to get used to Chris Sale, especially if you play at different stadiums, because his release point is so quirky. He releases the ball to the side. He's got a nice fastball, a little bit of velocity difference between the 4 and the 2 seam, but if you throw that slider across the body to the right side of the plate, that pitch is so hard to read that a lot of people are going to struggle to hit him. I would definitely suggest Chris Sale for a somewhat affordable starter, right around the 30K point. Now we'll go into the more cheaper guys I would suggest. Nathan Eovaldi is the first one of these cheaper guys I would suggest. I just sold him off the rip once I got that Classics pack we mentioned before, because you can earn them in the first inning program just for free. But looking at the card again here, he actually seems pretty nice. 98 mile per hour fastball is very good velocity. Then he has a 93 mile per hour cutter. So like I said before, the difference in velocity between the two fastballs, very nice. So a nice slower curveball, which is not going to be easy to hit, and it should have a lot of break as well. Next, we're going to have Joe Musgrove that you get from the Tops Now cards. You get this from Tops Now moments if you wanted to choose him, or you can just buy him outright. Again, he does have the pitch mix we were talking about. A sinker, a cutter, and a four seam. That is like the golden trio out of starting pitchers. You can get all 3 of those pitches. There's a great chance you have an endgame pitcher. And Mr. Musgrove here has all 3 of them. Not as big of a velocity difference between the 3 of them, but is definitely doable. The slider is solid, but this card, I think, has a really good curveball. So, this card actually is a little bit of an underrated card. He may struggle a little bit in the super lower part of rank, but will definitely be usable in All-Star Hall of Fame rating. Finally, I'm going to suggest a gold card for a starter for you guys. Maybe obvious, live series Corbin Burnes. Like I said before, he has that golden pitch mix with a sinker and a cutter. Doesn't have that four seam, but that's fine. He has a slider, changeup, curveball. Corbin Burnes got a boosted card last year. He had like a 95 Tops Now card, which a lot of people liked. I would definitely suggest this card, especially since he can go up to diamond someday soon. He does have a nice 95 sinker, 93 cutter. He has a slider and changeup as well. And again, a slow curveball. A good mix of pitches and pitch speeds. Also definitely has solid attributes for, a gold card. But this card is also a solid investment, speaking he can go to diamond. Maybe not next roster update, but the update after that. because he jumped from a silver to an 84 gold. Now let's talk about our relievers. First of all, we're going to look at Devin Williams. Devin Williams is actually a pretty solid reliever. He kind of owns me. He is kind of on the fringe of being a gold again because he has struggled this year. I would kind of be shocked if he goes down to gold next roster update unless he's just been absolute garbage still. But Devin Williams is nice because he has 3 fastballs, including a really slow cutter that we talked about with Bauer before. Next, we got the 87 overall Kenley Jansen. This card is actually pretty solid. I used him for a bit. He was either really good or really bad. And for me, when he was good, he was actually like very impressive. The cutter has great break. He has 89. He's 95 break with the cutter. If you can get people with that cutter, he's going to be basically unhittable. The slider is slow enough. You can play those two off each other. A solid changeup. But this isn't as good as another Kenley Jansen card will probably get. If you get a 99 Jansen some point this year, that'll definitely be better. But this one, it's definitely solid for now. Next, another card they added in that BR program the other day. Gold Jake Diekman going for about 6-7K right now. Diekman has a glitchy release. At this point in the year, there aren't that many lefty relievers. You're probably going to have 1 or 2 gold relievers at least in your bullpen for now. Just because at this point there aren't that many. Mr. Diekman here is nasty. The walks per 9 is low, but we're going to ignore that. Nice 4-seam. He has a sinker as well and a good slider. And almost like we were talking about with Chris Sale, he has that deceptive release. Now for another lefty guy, I'm going to suggest to you Dan Plesac, the gold version, to get this card in the first inning program for free as well. This card has actually impressed me so far. He had a couple rough games recently, but just in general, he doesn't have the most deceptive release. But if you mix up the fastball and slider enough, he's going to be kind of difficult to hit. He does have high velocity even on the slider, so he is a good little card. Thing is, lefty relievers are very difficult to come by now, and even though this card isn't crazy by any means, definitely is a viable lefty reliever. The last two relievers I'm going to suggest are closing pitchers. Oddly enough, there aren't that many budget sub 30K closing pitcher guys this game that I would actually suggest using. There really aren't that many, unfortunately. A lot of these guys are either above that threshold or they get their absolute butt kicked. First one I'm going to suggest is Liam Hendriks. He actually has solid hits and Ks per 9. He has a fair pitch mix with 4-seam, slider, curveball, 2-seam. So, you know, 4 pitches on a reliever is pretty solid. And somehow when I pitch with him, I actually pitch with him pretty well. I have no idea how. Not going to be the best by any means though, but a nice little budget reliever right at that 30K point. The final one I'm going to suggest to you guys, another BR program glitch. Steve Cishek, who's in the first BR program, but you can still pick off like 5-6K. Actually a nice gold reliever. Again, Steve Cishek has a glitchy release, as you see in the picture there. It looks like he's not throwing a baseball. It looks like he's like doing some yoga or something. Like there's a funky release. But he has a sinker, slider, 4-seam. He has a splitter, which with that sidearm release actually plays very well, especially if you throw it low in the zone. And he has a little changeup as well. Cishek usually plays well because of that funky release, and I would definitely suggest him for a solid reliever. So key with our starting pitchers and relievers, there aren't that many right now, unfortunately. If you are really early on in ranked playing against solid players, you're probably going to get rocked with any pitcher, unfortunately. It's very difficult to find good pitching, but on paper and from my experience, these are the guys I would suggest in the rotation and bullpen. And that is it. Hopefully I touched upon everything. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a thumbs up. I'm going to do this once a month, I think. Kind of updating it here and there. Because obviously as the game goes on, we're going to get more and more players. Players are going to be cheaper, some are going to get more and more expensive. So I think we will definitely do this whenever the time calls for it. In about a month from now. Make sure you check the channel and see if I upload that by now. Because if you're watching this in a couple months down the road, I probably would have a newer, more updated version for you. But that is going to be it. You all have a great rest of your day. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like if you did, learn something new. I'll see you on the next one. Deuces.